By 1965, Maria Alvarez's bakery had become more than just a neighborhood shop, it was a symbol. On any morning, the line stretched down the block, construction workers grabbing coffee, mothers buying sweet rolls for their children, old men sitting by the window sharing stories over warm bread. Maria had built all of it with her own hands. Yet she still cleaned the floors herself every night, humming softly as she wiped the counters. Her palms were rough, her back often ached, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She began hiring help, first a young woman named Lila from the neighborhood, then 2 high school boys who worked part-time after class. She paid them fairly, taught them patience, kindness, and pride in their work. "Every loaf you bake carries your name," she'd say. "Bake it with love." But success came with new challenges. The rent increased again, suppliers demanded more money, and the city introduced new health permits that required expensive upgrades. Maria was scared. Her savings barely covered her bills. One evening, she sat at the small table in the back of the bakery, head in her hands, surrounded by papers. For the first time in years, doubt crept back into her mind. What if I lose it all again? That's when a soft knock came on the door. It was Samuel, her old friend from her janitor days, now retired. He smiled gently. "Still fighting the good fight, I see." Maria sighed. "Sometimes I think the fight never ends." Samuel chuckled. "It doesn't. That's how you know it's worth it." He pointed at the stacks of bills. "When you started, all you had was a suitcase. Now look, people depend on you. You give this neighborhood something to wake up for. Don't forget that." His words reignited something in her. She decided she wouldn't let fear undo everything she'd built. Maria began learning the business side of things, reading books on accounting, attending community workshops on small business management, even meeting with local shop owners to share advice. She learned how to budget, how to negotiate prices, and how to market better. Slowly, things turned around. She introduced new recipes, guava pastries inspired by her island roots, pumpkin loaves in autumn, chocolate-filled croissants for Valentine's Day. People loved the mix of tradition and creativity. Her shop became a place where cultures blended over coffee and sugar. Then came a breakthrough. One afternoon, a reporter from a major city newspaper stopped by, curious about the small bakery making waves in Queens. He interviewed Maria, snapping photos of her flour-dusted apron and warm smile. A week later, her story appeared under the headline, "From Immigrant to Icon, the Woman Who Rose with the Dough." The article changed everything. Customers poured in from across the city. People wanted to meet her, to hear her story, to taste the bread that carried a lifetime of struggle and love. Maria was overwhelmed, but deeply grateful. She hung the newspaper clipping behind the counter as a reminder of how far she'd come. Still, she never let fame distract her from her purpose. When a young woman from Puerto Rico came into the shop one day, shy and uncertain, Maria recognized that look of fear. It was the same one she'd once worn. "Are you looking for work?" Maria asked. The woman nodded timidly. Maria smiled. "Then come tomorrow morning. Bring an apron and your dreams." That was how her quiet mission began. She started hiring immigrants who needed a start, people with broken English but unbroken spirits. She taught them not just to bake, but to believe. Each one carried a story, and in Maria's bakery, those stories mixed like ingredients in a bowl, different, but all part of something beautiful. One winter, when a blizzard hit the city, Maria kept the bakery open to serve hot drinks and bread to anyone stranded or hungry. Word spread quickly, and the local news station came to film her generosity. When the reporter asked why she did it, she replied simply, "Because once, someone gave me bread when I had nothing. This is how I say thank you." That moment captured hearts across New York. People began calling her the Grandma Maria, even those who weren't related to her. She laughed when the name stuck, but secretly, she loved it. By 1970, Maria's bakery had grown into 2 locations, one in Queens and another in Brooklyn. She hired managers, bought new ovens, and began supplying bread to cafes across the city. Yet she still arrived before dawn, tying her apron with the same care as the first day. Success doesn't mean you stop working, she'd tell her staff. It means you keep working with gratitude. One evening, as she locked up the shop, Maria looked at the glittering skyline of Manhattan in the distance. When she first arrived, those towers had felt like unreachable giants. Now, they simply looked like neighbors, tall, proud, and part of her story. She thought of her mother, of that day she'd boarded the ship with a suitcase and a dream. Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't of sadness, they were of fulfillment. She whispered softly into the cool night, "Mama, I did it. I made the world hear our name." The wind carried her words into the city, like the scent of freshly baked bread drifting down a long, crowded street.